I am motivated to talk about Kioni Mudavadi issue by what has happened. Yesterday I was watching in the TV and I saw that Dr. Boni Khalwale had gone to court. Now, that one reminded me of Kioni Mudavadi issue. In Kenya, something happens, a rumor, it is said that before the truth opens the door to go out, false and misinformation and disinformation has gone round the world. They'll meet at the door. This one now starting to go out, and this one has completed going throughout the world, now is coming back. When Khalwade's employee died, Khalwade mourned his employee because you cannot have worked for somebody for that long without establishing a personal relationship. Somebody came up with a very disturbing information that is making Khalwade go to court. The parents of the deceased wanted to bury him, but they were stopped. We are investigating this sudden death, and so on and so on. And you know, the emotions that are there. Your emotions are there. You are supposed to do away with the burial. And you see, the person who stops you from burying would, when the whole thing ends, you start again afresh, and he does not even contribute in that. But I'm not even talking of the finance. Imagine you have lost a next of kin. You know that the next thing you are going to do, you are going to clear the mortuary bills, you are going to foot the funeral expenditures, and you have to go that. But only for somebody malicious coming just because, not even political things. Kenyans want to look at things. There is a lady from my Samo clan who was telling me that where she sells vegetables, somebody just came out of nowhere and told her that he comes from Talai. You know, his accent was Kalenjin, of course, but just because the person claims to be from Talai, he said that a prominent runner had bewitched Kevin or something like that. And you see, the other day I was passing through, I said, again Akawanda Ikawa. It's very hurting. You go and see somebody and say, hiyo ilienda. Kenyans like that. Wanna pick up a story, they do not know the repercussion to anything, whatever. After, but somebody has been buried, they move, you try to raise them, say, hiyo ilienda. Don't even remind me. That is very bad. And that is why all these things made me record something about Kioni and Mudavadi. As we speak, Mudavadi is in the front line of the Kenya Kwanza government. Depending on your interpretation, because even in law, different laws interpret differently. Let us take this. Do you know that definition of the word court in Evidence Act is different from court in is it CPC, Criminal Procedure Code? Yeah. One says a court is a court of competent jurisdiction, and the other one describes court as different things. So, but they both, if you go to Evidence Act, they say court is a court of competent jurisdiction, and then the other one says court means judges, magistrate, judicial, something like that. I'm saying the same same word can be interpreted from different acts. That is what I had in mind. One word can be interpreted in law by depending on which act you are using. Now, depending on which act you are using, the third most senior person in the government is the speaker. After the president, there is the deputy president, and then there is the speaker. If you want to talk on legislative side. But if you talk on the executive side or executive act, you'll say that after the deputy president is the cabinet prime minister. So, Wetangula and Mudavadi, each on his own, claims to be the third most powerful person. But for the purpose of this, I would say Mudavadi is the third most powerful person. On the on the Kenya Kwanza side. And his running mate in a past election was Jeremiah Kioni, who is a very senior person in Azimio la Umoja Kenya. Azimio la Umoja. Yeah. One Kenya Alliance. Yeah. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance. He puts on a sufuria and blows whistles. But one time, and that is why I want to tell my viewer, don't follow politicians. Don't abuse your neighbor because you can see the other day what happened in Uganda. So mine is only to give records the way it is, irrespective of who is who. Because irrespective of who is who, the truth never changes. So we go back to the time when Jeremiah Kioni was the running mate for Mudavadi. A journalist from a leading newspaper went to one of the polling stations. You see, if I have to tell you the truth, Kikuyus in 2022 voted differently. They voted differently, and I can tell you, my mother is buried in 2 or 3 villages from Rigiji, a place called Kayaba. If you ask Rigiji, Kayaba is where my mother is buried or was buried. But I can tell you, if tomorrow Rigiji and Ruto do not swim in the same wavelength, Kikuyus will vote over 80% for Ruto. That is what is happening. But previous elections, Kikuyus used to vote for their own. You'll remember when, first of all, they started voting, they voted for, they split, 1992, they split between Matiba and Kibaki. If they would have had one candidate, he would have taken. And then you'll find that the voting patterns, 1997, Matiba never contested. All Kikuyus voted for Kibaki. So Kikuyu have been voting for Kikuyu-leaning party, but that one, I mean, as you can see, Paul Mwite was the deputy to Jaramogi Oginga Odinga before he maneno ya party. But voters in Kikuyu Kikuyu constituency voted for Paul Mwite. They did not vote for Jaramogi. And Kikuyus, when the time came for Kioni to be the running mate for Mudavadi, the Kikuyus voted for a Kikuyu candidate, presidential, but parliamentary. So I hope you are getting my point. But this is how a falsehood was changed. You know, since he completed school, from the time when Kioni completed school, he has always been voting in one polling station. Throughout. From the time he got his ID up to the time I'm recording this. He has never changed his polling station. But as I've said, Kikuyus voted for. This is when now Kikuyus, 2022 is when the Nani was a passenger, Rigiji was a passenger. But before 2022, Kikuyus were voting for one of their own. They were voting for one of their own. So the fact that Ndaragwa did not vote for Mudavadi, they did not vote for him because presidential they used to. But this is where now a lie is. And I want to tell you, take 100 liters of fresh milk in a drum. Then take a cup of maziwa mala. Mix it with that fresh milk. Does the 99.9% good milk convert the 1% bad milk into good? No. It is that 1% bad that will, maziwa mala, that will convert the fresh milk into maziwa mala. So, a neighboring polling station, and I repeat, a neighboring polling station to the polling station of, a neighboring polling station to a polling station of where Kioni has always been registering, voted 0 for Mudavadi. Newspaper was very clever because you cannot take Ndolo, Kieti Dolo of Rumutua from Machakos and tell him to go and report on voting patterns in Kakamega. The same way you cannot take Ojuang and take him to Kiambu to report on that. The reporter who went and reported knew what he was doing, but he only needed just to tell people. You see, in the polling station that Kioni voted, even he himself did not vote for his ticket. Taimagini. It went on. Kioni Kioni took that case to court, and he has been granted millions. That is why I'm always careful with what I say. I can say 99% the truth, but that 1% will soil all my past. Viewers, that is what happened when the so-called that even Kioni himself did not vote for Mudavadi. He voted for Mudavadi because at that time his political thinking was aligned to Mudavadi. And even his polling station, some people voted for Mudavadi. But they did not vote well. I can tell you, if you doubt me, can you go to the polling station or polling stream or polling room that the Iron Lady, Martha Wangare Karua, voted? You'll be lucky if you find 50 votes to have voted for Azimio. That is the truth. But we cannot go to a neighboring polling station where maybe Azimio did not get anything and say, hey, you see, Martha Karua did not vote for Azimio. That is bad. That is the 1 cup of bad milk that is mixed with a jerrycan full of good milk.